Hello and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to talk about whether or not the Overlord, this man right here, is an Oni or not. Now, I'm going to talk about kind of the evidence that he is an Oni and the evidence he isn't an Oni. Who really knows whether or not he's an Oni? Yeah, I don't. So I'm just going to be kind of speculating on whether I think he's an Oni or not, providing my own opinion. You can, of course, provide your opinion in the comments. I'm going to try to back it up with some evidence. Say, I think he's an Oni because of this, or I don't think he's an Oni because of this. So first, let's kind of talk about the differences, or like, kind of what the Overlord is and what an Oni is. I'll start with talking about what an Oni is. An Oni is basically a creature of destruction. I mean, that's their entire purpose. Destruction. That's what they do. They destroy like how the dragons would create. Now, Oni are inherently extremely evil. Similarly to the Overlord, they also are all black. They're kind of cast in darkness. Again, similarly to the Overlord. Of course, in this he has some purplish mist about him because of that's kind of his, I don't know, it's kind of his gaseous state, I guess. And of course, he has the golden armor, but that doesn't really count as part of him, obviously. But we can also look at the differences in how an Oni and the Overlord look. Of course, the Oni have, well, a face similar to the shape of an Oni mask. That's why the Oni masks are called Oni masks, because they look like the face of an Oni. Now, obviously, to be an Oni, you don't have to have that Oni face. I mean, Garmadon had a normal Lego face, similarly to the Overlord, and Mistake didn't even have. Well, she wasn't cast in darkness at all. She didn't have an Oni look about her. Of course, in her Oni form, she did, and in fact, she looked just like a normal Oni, a foot soldier Oni, not a powerful one. The powerful ones are the ones with the Oni face kind of mask it kind of thing. Now, the Overlord, the thing is, we've never really seen him use any Oni powers. Yeah, he can cast the world in darkness, similar to the Oni, but it wasn't really a black mist over the city like with the tentacle creatures that were kind of grabbing and devouring people, like in spoilers in season 10, March of the Oni. This is going to actually have a few spoilers for season 10, March of the Oni. But when he did it, he kind of just, the entire city was really dark. And was thundering and kind of had a storm about it. But it wasn't entirely darkness, it was just darkness at the top, making the rest of it dark. The second time he took over the city and rebooted, he actually didn't even darken the city at all, strangely. Although, you don't necessarily have to do that, considering sometimes when Garmadon would kind of do his stuff, I mean, for example, the only reason it was dark when Garmadon took over the city the first time in Season 8 was just because it was night. He didn't make it dark. He didn't cast out the sun or anything like the Oni did in Season 10. And the Oni didn't cast out the sun. They just kind of made it so in a certain radius it was all dark. The Overlord in the second season actually did cast out the sun. Although it is possible it could have just been a natural thunderstorm happening at the time. We don't really know. But some other things, the Overlord always has had a little bit of purple-ish about him, which is kind of the Oni's secondary color. You can see in this photo he actually has a purple tongue. He also, of course, has the purple mist as his body, and he's always kind of had little purple themes about him. He's always had reddish purple eyes as well. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't exactly remember the Oni's eye color, but I'm pretty sure they had purple eyes. Now, he has more reddish eyes, I would say, with kind of purple outlines you can see in this photo. Of course, it kind of depends on which version of him you're looking at. He does actually have purple eyes when he possessed Garmadon, which I'd say is actually even more similar to an Oni, the form of him when he possessed Garmadon. But I don't really know. The thing is, he's always kind of been the thing of darkness, not necessarily destruction. He hasn't really wanted to destroy. The Oni, they just want to destroy the entire place. Just wreck it. Destroy it. There should be nothing left. The Overlord, he kind of wants to, I don't know, like, make it so it's dark. You know, make so the whole world is darkness. There's no light. That's what he wants to do. And the Oni, they have relatively similar goals, but not entirely. So it's kind of a little thing like that. Also, the Overlord doesn't really have powers of his own. I mean, he's powerful because he's the embodiment of darkness, basically. But, I mean, he doesn't have the darkness destruction powers that Garmadon and the Oni possess. And he also was kind of weakened. And from what we know, Oni cannot necessarily be weakened. As we saw with Garmadon, the fight actually made him more powerful. And that seemed to be what it was doing in Season 10 when they fought Omega and the rest of the Oni. And the Overlord, the more you fight him, he actually does get weaker. When Lloyd became the Golden Ninja and started fighting the Overlord, he managed to destroy him with his light power. And when they used the Tornado of Creation against the Oni, that was the only way to destroy the Oni. But the Overlord has proven he's been destroyed by Lloyd and his light powers, his golden energy, which he then used in Season 3. And he's also been destroyed by Zane. And he's been, like, frozen and kind of destroyed a little bit like that. But it's not really the exact thing. Now, the Overlord, when he was kind of the embodiment of darkness and covering the whole city in darkness, and Lloyd used his light to do that. That's very similar to how they had to use the Tornado of Creation and the creation power to defeat the Oni, who are the destruction power. But I think that, in my opinion, the Overlord isn't an Oni because Zane was able to destroy him. And Zane isn't anywhere near the embodiment of creation or light or the opposite of what the Overlord is. He's the Ice Ninja. He's ice. I mean, he's powerful and he's on the good side, but he's not anywhere near a dragon or a light power or a creation power. But then again, there is also some other evidence to each side, of course. But first off, let's think about when the first Spinjitzu Master first created Ninjago. The Overlord cropped up because there was only light, only creation, which was the first Spinjitzu Master. Even though the first Spinjitzu Master did have part dragon, part Oni, equal creation and destruction in him, in his blood, he sought to only use the creation side of him to create Ninjago and to control Ninjago and all of its elements, which is why the Overlord appeared, because there has to be equal light and dark. It's not equal destruction and creation. It's equal light and dark. So I feel like it's kind of a different thing. But he kind of appeared to combat that. And he also, the Oni have kind of proven they can travel between realms basically at their will. They've been devouring realms. They managed to come through the realm crystal without having the realm crystal. So, if that's the case, the Overlord easily should have been able to make it back to the light side of Ninjago from the Dark Island without having to, get Garmadon to take him there. Which even then, he had to be shot over the entire ocean to do that. So, that's just my opinion. I don't think the Overlord is an Oni. But I do think he's basically Ninjago's version of an Oni. Because he's, the equilibrium between light and dark and creation and destruction. But yeah, that's just my opinion. You can leave yours down in the comments if your opinion differs, or even if it's the same. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. You can like and do whatever, or you can dislike, because I'm pretty sure dislikes actually do help me. Or you can comment to be like, yo, you're a loser. I don't know. Maybe you could say the Overlord is the coolest guy ever. I don't know. But, yeah. Bye.